April 24th, 1973. What's so significant about that day? It's not my birthday. I'm slightly older than that. It's not Republic Day. It's not Independence Day. It's not the birthday of the Prime Minister or the Chief Minister or anybody like that. What is it that happened on April 24th, 1973, which could conceivably be of importance? And it, in fact, is one of the most important days in India's history as a republic. How did we come together? How were we bound together on this day? Look at this. Two very unconnected photographs. Both are from Bombay, as it then was. Or both people featured out here are from Bombay. The first one is one of the greatest lawyers India ever produced, that's Nani Palkiwala. He is coming out of court on that day, and people are asking him, lawyers are asking him, public is asking him, what was the judgment? And here is a baby who was born on that day, April 24th, 1973. How do they combine? What's the story? This is the story. This is what came together on April 24th, 1973. This is Keshavananda Bharati, the judgment that anchored India. It is the judgment which gave us the basic structure, and this is that same kid grown up slightly, Sachin Tendulkar. Both events happening on that day, I will tell you how they've bound India together. They've bound India together in various ways. Just as Sachin's bat became a symbol of resilience, the basic structure doctrine has become an invisible shield protecting India's constitutional soul. And what's of interest out here is that Keshavananda's case begins not very far from here. It begins in the next district, in the next state, from Kasaragod in Kerala. And it is here in this Ednir Mutt. The Ednir Mutt in Kasaragod had land which was which it owned. But the Kerala Land Reforms Act came about, and the mutt was going to lose a lot of land. His Holiness Sri Keshavananda Bharati Sri Padagalavaru would have none of it. He said, look, this act is unconstitutional. He started a constitutional fight. This is again the Ednir Mutt. And he went to the Supreme Court in this petition. He went to the Supreme Court saying that, you cannot take away my land without giving me adequate compensation. The government of the day said, no. There is a fundamental right to property in this country. But if the government wants it for the purposes of the greater public good, then we do not necessarily have to give adequate compensation. And we've amended the Constitution to that effect. So the constitutional amendments themselves were challenged, not only by Keshavananda Bharati, but by a lot of others. There were a whole host of petitions, and the Supreme Court said that this is a very important question. This is a question that we have to decide. Yes, the government has the power to amend the Constitution. But while amending the Constitution, can it amend everything? Can it change everything? Can we have a new Constitution altogether? Because you have the power of amendment. And that was the question which then went on to trouble the courts from time to time, and it really came to head here. Now, what was this basic structure? Just to give you an example, think of a house. The house has walls, it has windows, it has a roof. But what is it that holds things together? It's the framework, the basic structure. And in India's constitution, the basic structure doctrine is that framework. It's an invisible yet unbreakable thread that maintains the integrity of our democratic ethos. That doctrine was not judicial overreach, it was judicial foresight. The court then declared that certain features of the Constitution, like democracy, the rule of law, judicial review, secularism, federalism, these are things that all bind us all together. These are things that you cannot touch. You may have a majority in government, but you cannot change the Constitution to abridge or to destroy its basic structure. This is the Indian Express on the day that hearings began. And for 68 days, the hearings went on. And there were 13 judges who heard it. 13 judges, you see the majority and you see the minority. There's only one less judge. So it was 7:6. 7 judges said, yes, there are limitations. You cannot alter the Constitution to destroy its basic structure. 6 of them said, no, you have the power of amendment. You can do, you can amend whichever, there's no part of the Constitution which is sacrosanct. And so of these 13 judges, the first judge is Justice S.M. Sikri. Justice Sikri was to retire, and this judgment was given on the day of his retirement. And obviously, on retirement, there has to be a successor. So what happened in that majority? Take the next 3 judges, Justice Shelott, Justice Hegde, and Justice A.N. Grover. The 3 of them were superseded, and somebody much junior to them, Justice A.N. Ray, whom you see at the bottom, the first face at the bottom, he was made Chief Justice. The 3 of them resigned the next day. So that was an immediate price paid. The next gentleman out there, the second last on the top row, Justice H.R. Khanna, his was the crucial vote which changed that 7-6. And he later again paid the price when Justice Beg, whom you see somewhere in the middle of the second row, was made Chief Justice during the emergency. These people were, in a sense, that Justice Krishna Iyer, whom you don't see here, later was to say, these were the first martyrs of the Constitution. These were the first martyrs of the basic structure. And now you might wonder, what does Sachin Tendulkar have to do with all this? But look at it. Look at it. There are several things that life and cricket and the law teach us. It was C.L.R. James who said, what do they know of cricket who know only cricket know? Similarly, what do they know of law who only law know? It is the batsmen on the pitch that matter. Here you see the 2 warriors who fought the basic structure case. You have Mr. H.M. Sirvai on this side and you have Mr. Palkhiwala on the other side. Mr. Palkhiwala was for Keshavananda Bharati. Mr. Sirvai was for the government of Kerala at that point of time. Despite all the fights on the cricket field or in the courtroom, at the end of the day, they still remain friends. And the basic structure arguments that were fashioned in that courtroom have continued to dominate the discourse. So this, here we come back again to what was held, that fundamental rights can be amended, but you cannot touch the basic structure. This is what the Indian Express said. Here, reverting back to Sachin Tendulkar and the comparisons, and I think there are 2 or 3 comparisons. In 1999, Sachin Tendulkar had an injury which would have ended his career. Notwithstanding that, he fought back and he revived. And he revived for another decade to hold the Indian team together. Similarly, we had a 2-year period of the emergency. When all this structure, nothing worked. Despite that, later on, the Supreme Court reaffirmed the basic structure in case after case. And as recently, in the judges' appointment cases also, they have struck down constitutional amendments which they have said, no, this thing destroys the basic structure, therefore we will not allow it. Secondly, the message of unity, just as I told you about Mr. Palkiwala and Mr. Sirvai, and the way that Tendulkar's batting united all of us in India. The basic structure united diverse voices, Dr. Ambedkar's concerns about caste, Nehru's vision of secularism and socialism, Sardar Patel's view of federalism. All these concerns of unity are held together by the basic structure doctrine, which was born on the same day as Sachin Tendulkar. Now, one thing I would like to tell you, that constitutional fights may be fought in the Supreme Court in Bhagwan Das Road in Delhi, but they emerge out of places like Mangalore, like Udupi, like Kasaragod. They emerge from each of us standing up to defend the Constitution or what we think is right constitutionally. You know, one of the first constitutional cases came from my hometown of Udupi. It was the Shirur Mutt. It's the mutt which is almost near the Kanakana Kindi when you go to the Udupi Sri Krishna temple. The Shirur Mutt case and then the Venkatramana Devaru case, which came from the Venkatramana temple of Mulki, set out the contours of what is religious freedom under the Constitution, what are essential religious practices that the Constitution will be protecting and that the courts would defend. It was these doctrines that young girls from Udupi and Kundapur resorted to when they asserted that they had a constitutional right to wear religious clothing in addition to the college uniform. And that question is still at large before the Supreme Court, but my point is that the warriors of the Constitution come from you, the young people of India. St. Aloysius College itself is a testament to minority rights under the Constitution, minority educational rights under the Constitution. It's recently become a deemed to be university, and autonomy of these institutions is part of our Constitution. The principles of autonomy with regard to minority education was again laid down from a case from South Canara that was in the Dr. T.M.A. Pai case of 2002, which I had the honor to represent the Karnataka government. Now, what is the Constitution in one sense? I'm running out of time. The Constitution is not this little red book that we go around just waving at rallies or meetings or speeches like this. The Constitution is our solemn compact, which is best exemplified in South Canara, between our confluence of Hindus, Muslims, Christians, all living together in peace and harmony. It is our covenant with each other that whatever right you have is the right that I have, and your suffering or any abridgment of your rights will ultimately come down to an abridgment of my rights. So when I defend your rights, I defend all our rights. Today, as we mark 75 years of constitutional governance, the challenges are stark. Populism, majoritarianism, apathy threaten the operating system of our democracy. As citizens, we seem to elect those that appeal to our baser instincts and encourage us to bunch together against the other. Despite knowing the dangers, many of us look away from attacks on constitutional values which face a tug of war between sabotage and affirmation. We must remember Dr. Ambedkar's warning in 1949 that Indians might prioritize religion over the nation. Today, as identity politics rise, his words echo. Constitutional morality must become a habit. To all of you here at St. Aloysius, I seek your indulgence and your efforts for the Constitution. You are the guardians of our Constitution's promise. When Sachin Tendulkar faced Shane Warne's spin, he didn't retreat. He innovated. When the Constitution faces spin doctors, you must innovate through litigation, activism, or simply voting according to your conscience. Do not fall for empty slogans, no matter how heartily pronounced. Work at turning those dreams of our constitutional founders into reality. Most importantly, remember that democracy is not a mere game of numbers which ends with the victory count at the hustings. Democracy is what happens all the time between elections. It works when citizens can hold their governments accountable all the time through a system of checks and balances. Justice Learned Hand of New York said, "Liberty lies in the hearts of men and women. When it dies there, no constitution can save it." Let liberty never die in your hearts. Let it forever survive. And like the Constitution and like Sachin Tendulkar's batting, the truly immortal ways that bind India into a nation of citizens and not of subjects, may the tide of constitutional democracy remain constant, anchored by the basic structure that was born on that remarkable day, April 24th, 1973. Thank you. Jai Hind. Jai 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 Hai.